It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Oh, let's review.
We'll analyze the scene
Sounds holly jolly to me.
before it's over. Let's begin.
Bum.
Bum.
That's right, folks. Since the Christmas season is upon us, we thought the way to celebrate and to get into the holiday spirit would be with some holiday reviews.
12 to be exact. Decoratively divided into 4 categories for your Yuletide pleasure.
So without further ado, silver up those bells, light the multicolored lights, and go out and build a snowman. And join us as we get into some seasonal shenanigans. And tonight, we're unwrapping Die Hard.
Da, 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 da.
Oh boy, Dragon! I can't believe it's Christmas.
This
Literally.
is the end all be all of the I can't believe it's Christmas picks, to be quite frank.
Absolutely. I'm kind of shocked that it didn't make it into the first year's lineup, to tell you the
Honestly, we
truth.
wanted to build up to it, and Tiki, there's a very special reason we just kind of happened upon. We kind of lucked into it coincidentally. This year marks the year that Die Hard made into National Film Registry.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I mean, it just kind of timed out. It's like a Christmas miracle. It timed out perfectly.
Awesome. So, Dragon, do you want to start on just kind of like a little bit of nostalgia for how we got into the Die Hard franchise? Because I don't really have much when it comes to that.
Well, I mean, nor do I. Just pretty much, it might have been kind of Kevin Smith stories about Bruce Willis that kind of got me, just kind of piqued my interest in Die Hard. Because Die Hard's been around. I like my action movies, but I never got into like an action movie franchise. Let's say. I mean, it's just been, like
Die Hard is one of those things for me where it's like I knew it was around forever, and I knew it was supposed to be one of the best action movies ever made.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I was never really compelled to watch it. Honestly, until last year when we were talking about, doing it for I Can't Believe It's Christmas. That's the first time I actually sat down and watched it.
I mean, honestly, I think we're kind of simpatico in that boat there because you're in the same boat with that because, I mean, honestly, I just kind of got into a kick with it. So I got into Die Hard and then Lethal Weapon shortly afterwards. Just kind of get into the franchise. I kept hearing kind of said so many times over the course of my life. I guess I was like, what the heck? I'll find.
I'm curious, Dragon. Did you watch Live Free or Die Hard before the original?
Oh, I watched them chronologically.
Okay, you see, because I had that experience where I went to the theater to see Live Free or Die Hard before I saw the original. So, I knew surface level things about John McClane, and even the surface level things about John McClane that I knew, I was like, this movie is so not Die Hard.
I will say this though, that's the year when I finally watched that. Whenever that movie came out, that's
really?
The year in which I watched them all. Because I guess that was like kind of the final thing. Kind of new Die Hard movies coming out.
Kevin Smith is in that movie too, so yeah.
Well, no, I'm sorry, no. I'm sorry, I keep getting the mix up. No, not Live Free Die Hard, the crappy fifth one. When the fifth one came out, that's when I finally.
The
fifth one came out, so I kind of built. Basically, I kind of watched them up for the fifth one. I didn't watch it in theaters, but I kind of watched it when it was available on demand. And well,
oh, you poor soul!
Yeah, it's not
that must have been so disappointing.
But again, the other four are far better than the fifth one, to say the least.
And I'm not a big fan of 4, to say the least.
Well, just trust
maybe
me.
the R-rated cut's better. Maybe it's just I feel like 4 kind of just like it just. I don't know, especially watching the original, man. The original, and we'll get into it. Let's get right into it, Dragon. Let's get into some background on this.
All right, so just to kind of streamline here. So Die Hard, essentially, it's based on some old school novels by Roderick Thorpe.
Right. Sure, let's go with that.
Thorpe's. Basically, they're by an author who did a couple novels, and the sequel novel, Nothing Lasts Forever, was the basis for this film. And back in the day, it was kind of Sinatra. There was an old
yes, I love the fact that Sinatra played John McClane.
Yes, Sinatra was initially supposed to be in the role, but it was an aging Sinatra, and of course, just being an aged Sinatra, he didn't want to kind of do all the action beats because remember Sinatra.
Could you imagine like a 1950s like hard-boiled aging Sinatra as John McClane though? That's like a great what if.
It is, and you got to remember Sinatra did make a lot of money in the movies as playing gangsters. Of course, the original Ocean's 11 being being a big example there. I'm just saying, kind of heist pictures as well as gangster pictures.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. So the character of Hans Gruber, he really shaped the film. Basically, they really kind of singled on. They really, when they're adapting the book into a movie, they really kind of hit upon Hans Gruber. And they kind of looked at the film through the villain's perspective, and that really shaped how the film was going to turn out. John McClane was just kind of a wrench in the machine, if you will. So they kind of looked at it through Hans' perspective, which is why Hans has a lot of focus and has like kind of all the Rickman charm to it. Let's say. And there are a lot of big names, a lot of big stars that turned down the role of John McClane. And John McTiernan, the director of this, he really stuck to his guns. This really made Bruce Willis's career. You got to remember that.
This is like Bruce Willis, like fresh off of Moonlighting, right?
Yes, exactly. Like he did.
So that was like, back in those days, like Bruce Willis was like the David Addison, like charming comedic lead,
Yeah, and this is kind of the first leap into kind of the stoic action hero, or kind of the bombastic. Basically, this is what fueled Bruce Willis' ego for years.
But here's the thing, Dragon. Here's the thing that makes this movie what it is that John McClane in this movie is not an action hero. You know what I mean? He's not like, it's totally just like an everyman who gets caught up in an extraordinary situation, and he happens to be the only one who can save the day. Like, that's what really bothered me most about Live Free or Die Hard, Dragon, is Live Free or Die Hard, by all intents and purposes, like, fundamentally, that movie could be a superhero movie for all the implausible shit John McClane does in that movie.
Honestly, too, even if you look at if you track Willis along with the progression of the Die Hard series, it's kind of interesting. You look at, of course, we do this very much because we're Kevin Smith fans. We've heard the horror stories of working with Bruce Willis.
Of course, yes.
But you got to remember, folks, while we say that, at the same time, Kevin Smith and Bruce Willis, they work well together on Live Free, Die Hard. They worked really well together on that movie. Again, which is why
that was the whole Bruce Willis chicken story, right?
Yes, that's the Bruce Willis chicken story. Come
on, Kevin, you're gonna have some Bruce Willis chicken. You're gonna love it.
Yeah, it's Bruce Willis chicken and tasty cakes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the reason I bring it up, because that's pretty much that kind of story you get with Kevin Smith and Bruce Willis, is that's Bruce Willis still wanting to do Die Hard, but at the same time he's really basically he's coasting on his fumes of celebrity. Like, yeah, I can tell him what to do. It's me. Come on. It's like, it's kind of less like, hey, we're gonna make a movie. And the first one, by 4, it's like, we've made 3 of these already. I got a stake in this. My name is synonymous with Die Hard. Like, hey guys,
the studios the whole way with the PG-13 thing in that movie.
Yeah, so that's basically that's what I'm saying with this movie. Is, of course, this movie we're very much kind of very earnest, very humble beginnings of John McClane. Yeah, so you're right, T. It is raw.
Yeah.
So let's see. So the point is, that's all thanks to McTiernan really fighting for Bruce Willis in that regard. And of course, a big thing I kind of have with a lot of stories now, kind of borrowing from Die Hard. Actually, Die Hard borrowed from Midsummer Night's Dream with the whole all done in one night kind of aspect of the story.
Nice.
Again, while this was kind of Bruce Willis, it's not his first movie, I don't think, but at the very least, this is kind of his. This is the one that made his career. This was Alan Rickman's
starring vehicle.
Yes, this was Alan Rickman's first movie, though.
Which is freaking crazy to think about, man.
He did TV. He did TV episodes and maybe a few TV productions of some stuff on the BBC. That's where Alan Rickman kind of really made his bread and butter. But he never did a movie.
That's his first movie. To think about. I mean, it's like he just talk about nailing it out of the park on your first go around.
Absolutely. And interestingly, they used Fox Plaza as Nakatomi Plaza.
Yes.
And of course, as we said earlier, this course is probably the most famous I Can't Believe It's Christmas ever, for the reason that this film historically is a very well-known action film that is set around Christmas time. And it has led to many debate, like, is it a Christmas movie? Is it not a Christmas movie?
It's absolutely a freaking Christmas movie in more ways than just the fact that it's set around Christmas.
Absolutely. So I'm saying that's kind of where we're landing on the debate. But that's just that's the fact that a debate exists is humorous.
I mean, it's an unconventional Christmas movie, to be sure, much in the same way that Gremlins is an unconventional Christmas movie. Yeah, but I mean, I would say that this movie is at least just as much of a Christmas movie as something like Gremlins is.
Sure. Okay, so let's move forward then.
All right, let's get into the big McLean himself. I don't know. I don't have a
Plot.
fancy title for him.
Well, the plot first and foremost.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right, so New
It's
York
been a hot
detective.
minute since we've done one of these.
So, basically, here's the film in a nutshell, folks. New York detective John McClane goes to a swanky L.A. Christmas party at Nakatomi Plaza to reconnect with his estranged wife, Holly. But terrorists take over the building and take the Christmas party hostage. Not El Camino hostage. They go legit hostage on this one, folks. They take the Christmas party hostage.
This does oddly have like a lot in common with El Camino Christmas, though. I kind of noticed that watching it. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
The terror, quote unquote, terrorists take over the building and take the Christmas party hostage, and it's up to John McClane, our everyman, John McClane, unarmed and barefooted, to take out 12 men, including the clever and menacing Hans Gruber, who has a secret agenda to rob Nakatomi under the guise of a random terrorism plot, which of course leads to a lot of landmark moments in action cinema, and all on Christmas Eve. That's the movie.
All right. So now let's talk about McClane.
Yes.
When I was a little kid, I literally just thought his name was Die Hard.
Really?
Yes, yes.
Like, what do you think? Was it like his first name was Die and his last name was Hard?
No.
I
just assumed it was like a nickname. I assumed it was a nickname.
That would explain why people kind of stop Bruce Willis on the street and say, "Hey, Die Hard!"
right.
No. John McClane. So John McClane. What we learned about him in this movie is that he's an 11-year. He's a New York cop with 11 years under his belt, and he's very much in over his head and vulnerable in this situation.
I love the opening scene of the movie. You know, when he's kind of shaky on the airplane, like that kind of tells you all you need to know about him. Like he's a pro, as he said. I've been doing this for 11 years. Like he knows what he's doing, but he's on unfamiliar turf.
Yeah, the first thing we see in the film is him being vulnerable, and he's going to be vulnerable throughout this film. And what's cool about him being vulnerable in this vulnerable position, one, we identify him, we identify with him. And secondly, we see how clever he can be, and one, like, especially the good instincts that he has at the same time.
Mm-hmm. I also love how throughout the movie he's pretty much like losing it.
Yeah, I mean, physically
and mentally.
Yeah, because people are
in a situation like this.
Yeah, people are dying around him, and of course he's just getting torn to shreds.
Yeah, like it really is a very transformative performance on Willis's end. You know what I mean? Like, and makeup and costuming and everything has a lot to do with it. I can't get over how consistent McClane's injuries and like how torn up his shirt is. It's so good in terms of tracking the damage throughout the movie. Of course, the feet being the classic example.
Now, something really neat, and I heard this in a brief interview with Bruce Willis back in circa 1988, I guess. What Willis did was really cool in getting ready for John McClane is that he talked to real cops, and he really kind of studied kind of what a cop's response would be in this situation. And essentially, when cops get in really high stress situations, sometimes you're going to have some snarky remarks here and there. Especially, I mean, you see this kind of casually with crime scene guys. They're going to kind of make jokes to kind of keep the dark depressingness of what they're doing, kind of keep it like a little light, and so they don't get swept up in it. It's kind of a similar kind of premise with
McClane is basically turning the whole thing into a sitcom in his own mind.
Basically, turning a nervous breakdown into kind of a Christmas extravaganza.
Right.
Yeah,
and that leads to, of course, just so many great one-liners.
Exactly. Well, of course, here with the physical, stuff he's going through, we have the emotional side of it, where he's trying to save his marriage and his wife, quite literally.
And the whole marriage thing is exactly why this is definitely a Christmas movie. Honestly, that's the most Christmassy thing about it.
Yeah, I mean, there is very much an undercurrent of again, kind of connecting the seasonal deaths here. I guess it's kind of like it's not dad trying to get home for Christmas, but it's kind of dad putting work before family. It's a story about that. It's a story about a man putting it's kind of the question of how much do you balance work and family. He's trying to.
And then it's the story of the wife realizing just how important that work is to the man.
Precisely. Yes. Of course, it was just with kind of John McClane himself. You have very much kind of a cowboy with the whole, with Roy. You have, cowboy meets commando in a stationary location, which of course kind of lends itself to a lot of, a lot of creative, a lot of creative moves on his part.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure, we'll talk a lot more about this character, but I just love the dynamic that McClane has with Powell.
Oh yeah, so yeah, I think it's a good kind of starting place for McClane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so let's move on to the. Oh man, the German extravaganza himself.
The German extravaganza himself.
I know. Thank you.
Hans Gruber.
Oh, I thought you were mocking me.
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you were like mocking my lame title for Hans Gruber. The
You're
German extravaganza.
You're mocking me, aren't you?
All right. So I mean, what can be said about fucking Hans Gruber that hasn't already been said? I mean, the guy is like easily like a top 5 villain all time.
Very much so. If you look at the villains of cinema, he's really up there. He's smart. He's calculating. He
has a presence to him, and I love how professional he is.
Rewatching the movie, I completely forgot about this, and I loved it because it's been a while since I've seen the original Die Hard. Because honestly, if I'm being honest, the one I go back to most is Die Hard 3 because it's hilarious and awesome.
It might be who the co-star is in that one.
You're joking, right?
It's Sam Jackson, right?
Yeah, Sam Jackson.
That's what I thought. I just didn't want to look stupid by assuming. All right.
Yeah, and you have Jeremy Irons as Hans Gruber's brother.
Oh man. Okay.
Anyway, but yeah, a bit rewatching this movie kind of caught me by surprise by how kind of clever and how great this was. He's going through the first scene with the head guy Nakatomi. We go through the office, and the office has all these really cool models, kind of built in this kind of giant office space, and they're really cool looking models. And like of all the other Nakatomi buildings, or kind of structures, Nakatomi is kind of taking part in. And Hans has this line where he says, he very much, he likes models because he likes that every piece is accounted for. Basically, it's like planning. We show that Hans Gruber's he's a smart guy. He's a guy who plans, a guy who is very precise with the details, very detail oriented, and he appreciates the model. So it's kind of a connect between that and kind of what Hans is doing here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I like that he can improvise. That's one of the most impressive things about Hans because he has a very well laid out plan. He has this great confidence about him with the plan. Like when Hans Gruber enters the structure with his men, he knows exactly where everyone's going. It's kind of like, remember the scene in The Dark Knight where Joker arrives in the elevator and he kind of scare the crap out of Michael Caine?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's exactly like that.
It's very much, but the difference is we see the lead up to it. We don't just see how Joker appears. In this case, we see how Hans Gruber, him walking through the building, just shoot the guard right at the desk, and again, it works like a well-oiled machine. That's what's so great about Hans Gruber.
And as I said, I love when he makes his first appearance to the crowd. He does so like it's not even aggressive. It's more just like, this is the situation, and you can do nothing about it. So it's best if you just cooperate.
It's just very pre-programmed, mechanical, and to the point, But at the same time, he has a confidence about him. At the same time, even when that starts to go out the window, he can still improvise in those moments.
Yeah.
Of course, we're going to see later on how that serves him really well. And what's kind of great, I love the parallel between him and John at so many points in this movie, and he's just this great ruthless counterpoint to kind of your all-American cowboy.
Build up in the movie to him and McClane meeting each other.
Yeah, and of course they never really, they'll meet each other to like a very, very historic moment in the movie.
Right, exactly.
And again, there's that mystery because it's basically, and what I love about Alan Rickman's performance in this film so much is that I love that he conveys with Hans that a part of him respects John McClane's resistance and being surprised by him because again he counted for everything.
Still gotta die, but
it's just the fact that he's kind of impressed that. He kind of likes the challenge in McClane there. Kind of like, hey, I'm kind of surprised. I had everything all well laid out, and this guy's complete. He's not a security guard, just happened upon the building. And it's basically he's looking at it like a chess match again for the intellectual superior going against kind of the German watchmaker, let's say. Versus, I know he's not a watchmaker. I'm just saying for point comparison here, the German watchmaker versus the all-American gun-toting cowboy. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Well, there's endless nice things you could say about Hans.
But yeah, that's the thing. I'm kind of just I'm stretching because.
But at the same time, while he's pleasant, at the same time he'll shoot you point blank in the face. These.
I will say I do think it was just like one of the big strokes of genius with this movie is the way that they have the whole device of like the villain can hear everything you're saying through the walkie-talkie. So it's like this, this constant game of chicken between like, like just how much information you want to talk about on the walkie-talkie airwaves.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So let's move on to Holly Gennaro.
Or Holly Gennaro McClane.
I don't know. I'm not, to tell you the truth, Dragon, I'm not really crazy about her. She's competent enough. I mean, I like that they go out of their way at the beginning of the movie to, to showcase how valuable she is to the company. And I like that she's career driven. And I like I like the dichotomy between her and McClane. As a character, she doesn't really have a lot that's like pulling me to her on a personality point of view.
Well, I mean, I love her in the situation. I love the fact that she earns the respect of Hans. I think that's
right.
That's the thing. It was almost one of my moments right there. That is those two. Just the fact he says, he chose his, I know his name's not Mr. Nakatomi, but the boss.
I know it should be Mr. Nakatomi. It bothers me that it isn't.
One, that'd be so easy to remember, but secondly, it's come on, Nakatomi. The name Nakatomi means something these days, and just to be so much. Oh, God. I'll bet you this, Steve. If they had longevity on theirs, if they kind of knew if they knew how things were going to be now, they would have
right. If they knew that Nakatomi Plaza would be like an iconic film location.
Well, he said, he knew how to pick his men well, and I love the fact he read the dossier on the guy, just kind of freaked everyone out, like how much he knew about the guy.
Oh yeah. Like I said, he's not doing it with any sort of menace behind it. You know what I mean? He's just doing it very matter of factly, like very much like, I know everything there is to know about you, so there's no point in fighting this. This is just how it has to be.
You're right, Tiggy, that Holly, she doesn't have a lot of character, and I think that kind of stems from the whole, like, she's kind of a device with the marriage, but at the same time I like that the character we do get from her is through that arc of she understands the craziness of John's world being thrown right into it, and she's keeping her cool, kind of being the leader of the makeshift leader of the hostages.
Yeah, I do like how she's like the one person in the movie besides Powell who actually has confidence in what McClane's doing.
Yeah, I mean, by the end, at the end where we leave her, she just wants her family. She wants her family back, and she wants it whole. And in the end, she does get that, being through unconventional means, but she does get that. So it's a Christmas miracle.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Let's move on to Sergeant Al Powell.
Yes, Sergeant Al.
Commissioner Gordon. Seriously, though, is this not Gordon?
Oh, yes, he's very much kind of the diehard equivalent to Jim.
He's like the one person on the police force that's in support of the hero. Everyone else on the police thinks he's a bad guy.
Of course, folks, we've been building to this with we did Arkham Origins, which of course has very much. Classically, Batman, Gordon, kind of a pal, kind of a pal McClane thing going on there. But so very simply, Pal is the Jim Gordon to McClane on the ground. He's kind of his guy on the ground, show him support. He can't really do much from the ground, but at the same time,
I think he's the most valuable person McClane has, even though he doesn't really offer a lot in terms of practical solutions to the situation. What makes him so valuable is that he's simply someone for McClane to talk to.
Exactly.
And as we were saying, with McClane's deteriorating mental state, as we'll get to with a key moment later on, that's one of my favorite moments, like the big John McClane just showing his sensitive side moment. It's like we don't get any of that without Powell on the other end of the radio listening in. Right.
And, we have that, now Tiki, I just want to clarify, we don't, Pal's backstory, that's not part of your thing, right?
No, just the whole thing with the wife.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. I was just going to go through the stuff with, Pal's a very interesting backstory.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, I mean, he took a young life, and the interesting kind of juxtaposition between him and McClane, the reason they kind of work so well together is that, Pal's arc is that, he's not in the thick of it. He hasn't drawn his gun in a while. And
But Dragon, that whole thing fascinates me because, like, especially today when police violence is like, it's so, like, I don't want to get political, you know what I mean? But like incidents like what Powell was involved in, where he thought the kid was carrying a gun, and so he reacted. I mean, that's just it's almost creepy how much that sort of stuff happens even more these days. And so to have a character like Powell, who's kind of the emotional heart and core of the whole movie, you know what I mean? Like, he's the person who kind of like represents the spirit of Christmas in a way. To have him be someone with that kind of baggage is really kind of incredible, and how likable they make it, and just how forgiving the audience is of him.
Yeah, it's very much, again, he's the opposite of John, that he's the guy with the holstered weapon for a reason, and that's just kind of what's caused that. I mean, I love that throughout the course of the film, as this friendship develops between them, in the end, he is inspired by John to kind of redraw his weapon in a way.
Sure.
So I mean, the point is,
I love his opening scene too, with the convenience store, and then the reveal of the Nakatomi Tower, like right across the street. That's some great world building right there. I mean, I know it's LA, so it's not really world building per se, you know what I mean? But it's like, that's some good like placement of buildings and shot composition.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, so again, just Reginald Vell Johnson, of course, doing an excellent job. Many people know him as another. People have always made the connection, like, hey, it's the cop from Die Hard, it's the cop from Family Matters, it's Carl Winslow.
All right. So should we move on to the big comedic relief of the film?
Of course, we've kind of talked up where Powell loves. So yeah, let's again. We love Powell, and again, we all love Powell.
I mean, Powell's a better character than this guy. Let's make no mistake. He's certainly more three-dimensional.
I'm not trying to downgrade him. I just want to get some last-minute Powell love out there. Okay, let's go to Argyle.
Argyle, yeah.
Argyle's fun.
He's fun. I don't really know what to make of him, though.
I love how Argyle starts and how he ends, but it's the middle is just kind of weird.
Yeah, it's the middle of the film. It's very much like, I don't really, it's very much like, okay, and I don't know. They just make him out to be a little too incompetent.
Yeah, that's the thing. So Argyle, what I love about him is, so McClane in this movie.
He's got a great personality. You know what I mean? I love when he's, of course, we get some great exposition about McClane's wife through his, his taxi driver, like kind of questioning, prodding questions. That's a great use of exposition right there, Dragon. That's a very economic use of exposition.
Yeah, Argyle is very much Mr. Exposition, but they spice it up as much as they could. Like, for example, he's a first-time driver. He's upgraded from cab driver to limo driver, and the cool thing with Argyle is and again, bear in mind, we're gonna have to call him Mr. Nakatomi because we got nothing wrong. He's very much a symbol of a kindness that was paid to John McClane, thanks to Mr. Fictional Nakatomi.
Sure. I can look up his name if you want.
Can you? Because it's just
yes, I can. You should have just asked. All right.
Okay, but all seriousnly though, with Argyle is he's a fixture. He's kind of a visual reminder of the niceness of that guy, because that guy he allowed, sorry, not allowed. Remember, he sent that for John McClane as a show of kindness to Holly. He's like, hey, I'll bring your husband in style.
And then he also bought Holly a Rolex.
Yeah, that too. Argyle's just yet another kind of a physical embodiment of kind of another nicety from this guy. So Argyle's, he's always he's a reminder through that. It's nice that Argyle gets something to do. Hey, he takes out one of Hans's guys, and the one that believably Argyle could take out.
Okay, it's Takagi. Takagi, yeah, Takagi.
Gotcha.
Takagi. All right,
Mr. Takagi.
I agree. It should just be Mr. Nakatoma.
It sounds catchier, but okay, Mr. Takagi. Okay, I got it now. It's locked down there.
All right.
So yes. I'm sorry. What the fact that Argyle is a young guy. I like that we have a little bit of youth in this film here and there. So again, I
feel like every Die Hard movie kind of has that kind of character. It's just they use that kind of character in different ways. Like in Live Free or Die Hard, Justin Long is that kind of character, except he's the main sidekick in the movie.
And in Die Hard 3, you know, we have like the kids at the school in Harlem. So, you know, we have like kind of there's a youth element. However, I don't know. I mean, I'm stretching it, but I would say in 2, you have that's the thing. I almost want to call like his sidekick in 2 kind of young, but he's an older guy, so I don't know how young I can really. The point is, it's not in every movie, but you know, when it's there.
Yeah.
And well, the reason I bring the youth up is I like that because our guy's a young guy, and you know, with Pal, the thing kind of neglected to mention with Pal, I guess, is that you know, he is. What's cool with Pal is that he's bringing a young life into this world with his wife. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, you know, of course, he killed a youth. So at the same time, you know, Pal's trying to balance out kind of a youth that he took with the youth he's bringing into the world. So that's kind of the baggage that he carries. And we have characters like Argo, just kind of like, yeah, he's just kind of some positive example.
Right.
Okay. Just kind of a little nice thing there. So okay, Argo. So yeah, he took someone out, but at the same time, it's like, Argo, come on, look around, man.
Right.
Because he has this bit where he says he knows my number, he'll call back and says, no, you call him back, and then you realize what's wrong.
I mean, I will say though, he's very patient.
Yeah, he is patient because I think
you know what I mean. It's like he's just sitting there in the parking garage for God knows how many hours. Just
I love that he's drinking with the bear.
He's not even complaining. You know what I mean? He's just kind of living it up, like you said. Yeah, he's drinking. He's
he's drinking with the bear.
Right. God.
Yeah, the oversized bear.
All right. So let's move on to Chief Robinson.
Yeah, Deputy Chief Robinson. Basically, of course, this actor is well known for playing let's just say, you know, one note antagonistic characters like from the Breakfast Club. You know, you mess with a bull, you'll get the horns. Okay.
Yeah, and in this case, it's very much the one note antagonistic police chief.
However, I will say this. I like that I always wish they did a little bit earlier, like a little bit more, like a little bit more of this. He's playing the type. Again, the type of character he's played before. You know, he thinks he's in charge. He's not very bright. He's basically someone for Pal to butt heads with. Because, again, Pal's kind of the voice of the audience saying, hey,
he just instantly assumes that McClane is behind everything.
Exactly. You know, it's like, you know, Pal's kind of the voice of the audience, or Robinson's just kind of the voice of like, hey, we need plot. Yeah. We don't know him. We can't send people in. And here's the thing. I like that he slowly sympathizes with Pal after the FBI puts him in the place that he put Pal and McClane, and that he's kind of put into his place, and that gives him a little bit more dimension. But we don't do enough with that for me.
Yeah. I don't really have a ton to say because, like you said, it's just
that's all really. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Let's. Well, the FBI guys, they're just, you know, they're a pun like, hey, Johnson & Johnson, are you related? That's about it.
That's the thing, Dragon. This movie is like populated with so many fun side characters. We'll get to a bunch of the henchmen, you know, coming up. Okay, but before we get to the henchmen, let's get to Richard Thornburg.
He's played by the wonderful Bill Atherton.
Yep.
Of course, everyone knows Bill Atherton from Ghostbusters.
You're right.
Walter Peck.
Oh, Ghostbusters, you say, Dragon.
Yes,
I wonder if we'll be talking about anything that has anything to do with Ghostbusters in the near future.
Well, you know, Tiki, it's never say never. Seasonal shenanigans. You got to remember, Tiki. Ghostbusters 2 is set around the holidays.
Oh, God. Is it really?
Yes.
It's been a long time since I've seen Ghostbusters.
It's not an honest-to-goodness Christmas movie, but it is really set around. It's more New Year's than Christmas. That's the thing. So you never say never. I don't know. God. Anyway, that's discussion for another time. So yes, Richard Thornburg. How do you feel about the reporter, Tiki?
He's fine. He's not the most compelling reporter character I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's very possessive and greedy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Here's the thing, kind of bothers me about Thornburg. Yeah, he goes to the McClane's house, and he goes to the Holly's house, and he basically the Mexican nanny, and he's trying to get basically interview the kids, kind of get like big ratings numbers, get big numbers.
Right.
But here's the thing: he starts with a threat, but then he actually has like the heartfelt explanation. But yet he does, it's like he has the potential to be a good reporter, but he's too greedy and like he's too big-eyed and greedy to really see that. It's like, hey, I'll call INS versus the follow-up, which is, hey, this might be the last time they get to talk to their parents.
God.
Again, that's a better reason than the previous one.
So it's Christmas, so we might as well just exploit that for ratings.
Exactly. You think he'd leave
with the spirit of the holidays.
and of course, he makes things worse. This is a recurring thing with him, where he keeps making things worse, and he's in the sequel as well. And he makes things worse, and in the end, similarly, kind of gets punched by Holly.
All right. Okay, so Dragon, let's move on to the henchmen. You want to kind of build to our main ones?
Well, I mean, there are 12 henchmen, folks, and what we did is we just kind of, we kind of took kind of the three most notable.
Okay, so let's just talk about them. So I guess the three most notable ones will be Carl and Tony, the brothers, and then Theo the hacker.
Yeah, those are our three. So Tony was cool. He was the first kill, and I think Tony actually has something rewatching. Tony has something I completely forgot about. I thought it was really cool. Is that Tony? One, I like these unconventional henchmen. He has the glasses. He's more of like kind of a guy thrown into it. He's kind of more of an intellectual, it would seem. I'm not just saying it because of the glasses, but he kind of tried talking with McClane, tried talking him down. With the other ones, they don't really have that option. Where he's he addresses John McClane's ethics as a policeman, and you do get to see the progression throughout the film, and this is all kind of brought about by Tony, so I thought it was worth mentioning, is that, John McClane, he is a cop, and he does try to arrest him at first, and then basically when he goes up against one of the henchmen, John tried to arrest him, and then, of course, he just shot at him, so he realized, okay, I just got to kill him while I have the chance. And again, that's showing the mental kind of deterioration of John McClane, where, again, he can't think like a cop in this situation. He's got to go from cop to commando. That's what he's doing.
Sure.
And, of course, he has an accident. I think it's notable that Tony's the only accidental death with John McClane, because he's fighting with him, and they fall down a staircase, and he breaks his neck. And, of course, the one accidental death is what was...
the one that leads to, like, I will have my revenge, God damn it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think this is kind of the fun irony of the one accidental death.
Right.
So then,
Carl, I love Carl. Oh my god, he's a lot of fun. Like, he's no Gruber, but
he's kind of like a murdering Fabio.
The hair, the hair. I was about to say the hair really makes him stand out.
It's a Fabio with murder in his heart. It's German Fabio with murder in his heart, Tiki. But yeah, his cool motivation with the brother thing. I really like that. And of course, as we learn about Carl is very hard to kill.
You're right. He's kind of like the Crossbones of Die Hard.
I think that's kind of fair, yeah. So then we get to Theo. Theo was, again, I think Tony and Carl, they have like kind of a good, they're the most story, they have most kind of story within their character, I guess. But Theo, on the other hand, he's all personality, man. He's all personality. He's got a rapport with
Theo. You might not agree with this, but I think that Theo is the second most evil character in this movie.
Really? Why do you say that, Tiki?
Just because he rejoices so much in what he's doing, and he's obviously not a part of the core character group. He's just kind of like this shrimpy hacker kid that got brought into it. I don't know. There's just something like entertainingly off-putting about just how much he's into his job and how much he takes pride in it. You know what I'm saying?
He does gleefully kick that one guy who just...
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's enjoying himself a little too much, and I think that makes him inherently evil.
Yeah.
I also think he's kind of a fun, interesting predecessor to the Timothy Oliphant villain from Live Free or Die Hard. Like, he's better than that character, but I'm just saying that character was also a hacker.
Yeah.
So, oh god, so Lex from Jurassic Park comes in at the end of the movie, when they're trying to get the vault open. She's like, step aside, Theo. I'm a hacker. All right, I got that out of my system. Moving on.
And the rapport with Hans is what I like, because I think Hans respects the intellectual capacity that Theo brings to the team. And again, they have the whole, we need a Christmas miracle. You asked for a Christmas miracle, I delivered.
It's just how reckless Theo is and how much of a disregard he has for the people who are being killed. You know, just how gleeful he is about it.
Yeah, because again, he's all safe and
Like,
he doesn't have
he's
to worry
just
about
like a little worm, you know what I mean? In a fun way. I'm not saying he's a bad character. I'm just saying, like, he's a very kind of punchable character.
It's very befitting that he gets taken out by Argyle, like kind of the shrimpy version of our good guys team. He's kind of like he's on the good guys side, but he's not a cop by any stretch. He's not pal. He's just like someone to take him out. It's just like yeah, that's about fair. All right, so let's move on to the naughty and nice.
Yes, Dragon, that's right. We're making a list and we're checking it twice, and we're going to find out what in this movie is naughty and nice.
And ho ho ho, I have a machine gun.
Okay, so I guess start with the naughty because there's really not much.
However, there is naughty that still holds up on every viewing, though. So that's the thing.
Okay.
There is definitely a few bits of 80s naughty here.
Okay, 80s naughty, yes, I can see that.
I'm just saying stuff that just still, it's always like something you kind of have to take a double take at. Like, really? They got away with that back then? Here's the first one, first and foremost. The one that always bugs the crap out of me in this movie. That 911 call scene. I mean, those dispatch, the lady on dispatch.
You know what, Dragon? You know what? I agree that the lady is just like totally like that lady should just be fucking fired from her job immediately. But I think it has one of the biggest laugh out loud moments in the whole movie when McClane's just like, Jesus Christ, lady, does it sound like I'm ordering a fucking pizza?
Funny line that doesn't excuse it.
I don't know. That's the thing. It's like I feel like we're just supposed to be on McClane's side. You know what I mean? We're feeling his frustration with the whole thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You also have to remember that my problem to you is we do a better version of this with Pal, where again Pal's like it seems like he's going to be yet another incompetent like this lady, but then I won't see him get. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And of course, right, just with that, one thing to point out is that Gruber specifically does this on Christmas Eve because he knows that, you know, the police force and dispatchers and everything, like they're basically running on a skeleton crew during Christmas Eve.
Which is true.
Is part of a plot. That is part of the plot.
You're right about that, but they really account all of them being really incompetent on the phone, though.
Yeah. I mean, I count it more as just like the lady just didn't want to believe him because it would mean extra paperwork and she just wanted to go home. I don't know.
All I'm saying is every time I watch that movie, that scene just makes me roll my eyes like, come on.
The pizza line, though. The pizza line is so good.
Thinking a funny pizza line does not excuse incompetence.
All right.
It's funny, but I'm just saying, it's still like, come on. And again, I'm probably not saying I hate my heart. I'm just saying that, like, yeah, it's always kind of it's still kind of a plot thing, you know. It's like, yeah, it's always kind of that's a buy.
I will say, I think this movie, it's like, I don't necessarily know what you would cut out, but I don't necessarily think it has to be 2 minutes and 15 or 2 hours 15 minutes long.
I feel it should be an hour and 40 minutes, Tiki, and that's what I'm saying because that's the kind of perfect action movie runtime.
I mean, I think they could get away with it being 2 hours, maybe even a little over 2 hours with credits, like 2 hours and then the 5 minutes of credits. So technically 2 hours, 5 minutes.
Well, technically it is 2 hours and 5 minutes, Tiki.
Well, no, technically it's 2 hours and isn't it like 2 hours, 15 minutes and then 5 minutes is credits? So it's like 2 hours and 10 minutes plus the 5 minutes of credits.
I don't know. I thought it might be like it's 2 hours and change, but it's not a lot of change. So that's what I remember. Maybe it's
but still, I think you and I can both agree, and I'm glad we're on the same page about this. I mean, this film, for as entertaining as it is, it definitely has some pacing issues.
Yeah, let's address. So here's the thing that runs into that kind of causes that pacing issue, and this is stuff I like. If we could find some way, basically, if we could, it feels like you could always trim some point, getting from point A to point B stuff. You know, I mean, like John McClane kind of going through covering the same territories kind of covered before, getting from point A to point B. And don't get me wrong. I mean, of course, we have some fun sequences. Basically, it's like getting. It just feels like it's something that's going to happen when you have like a single. You basically have an action film set in the same location, basically that one stationary location. Which is a cool idea. You can lose steam on that easy. And in this case, it's like you're going to retread the old ground, get from. Like, hey, already get that. Now we got to go all the way back there. We have the explosives plot line. You know, we got to.
It's definitely a formula that's been perfected since this movie, I think.
And again, this was like really one of the first big examples of that sort of thing. So I'll cut some slack on that. I'm just saying again that's like an example of the runtime thing. I would trim if I were to go. And of course, like for me, like I don't know, certain things like maybe the dispatch thing. I don't know. It's. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, but I mean the dispatch thing that is an important plot point, so you can't just cut that out.
I'm just saying stuff like that in the movie, stuff that maybe doesn't hold up as well. But I mean, yeah, right, that's a necessary one. But yeah, I'll say, aside from the runtime, let's see, minor things. Again, all these are minor. Even with the 911 call scene, just 80s stuff. Again,
as we said, some of the characters, like some of the side characters, aren't necessarily the deepest.
Yeah, for example, here's something that's axable. Okay? You don't need it at all, but it's there. It's 80s fodder. It's the reporter subplot is completely axable. Whole side plot of the reporter going.
Very much. I feel like if you cut that whole side plot out, it'd be like the perfect runtime. Honestly, Dragon. I feel like that's the thing you trim out.
Yeah, exactly. If you had to knock out one thing just purely, you can cut the entirety. The only thing you miss is that just Hans kind of putting things together, which again, you could use any other way of conveying that message. Like she gets worried over the ring.
Have the presence of the media without giving a whole plot line to the media. That's
all he needs to do is flip the photograph upwards, and he'll find out. You don't need him to watch. You see a reaction on the TV. I think that was just them like, hey, we got to give Holly stuff to do, and we also have the kids we established. Remember, they have kids, so it just feels. Yeah. Let's see. Oh yes, we're a little. I think we're a little too FBI. This is in all action stuff. This is kind of one of the original examples I would say. It's very much they're anti-things.
That goddamn FBI always coming in and ruining the boys in blue.
Yeah, I mean we're very anti Fed in this. We're always anti-Fed. I don't know, it always feels like just kind of a little. Cliche mention, but this was the original, so I don't know.
Well, that's the thing in general, Dragon, is I feel like you just hit on something. Like this movie is one of those movies where so much was inspired from this movie that you could call it cliches, but they weren't cliches when they did it. You know what I mean? It's one of those movies.
Let's look at this. This is based on our own stuff we talked about. El Camino Christmas. We have the Force Report.
Oh, exactly.
We have the Force Report subplot, and there's very much a fear of bringing in the FBI. In this case, my main problem of the Feds is just like they seem more incompetent than the one incompetent guy we had, than Robinson run the situation. Like this is not an upgrade whatsoever. Well, let's see. Last thing, this is like an action. Again, it's the last 80s thing. Again, all these are very minor, folks. We'll make clear. All these very, very minor.
Sure.
We always have a hair of implausibility, but it's an easy pass around the holidays. It kind of fits into the kind of the phrase I like to kind of use for seasonal shenanigans. But oh heck, it's Christmas. Oh heck, it's Christmas. I'll give it a pass. I'll give it a seasonal pass.
Right.
It's only a hair of implausibility. If he was cut the ribbons by that glass, he'd bleed out. There's no way he's walking out of that.
Come on. But I mean, at the same time, though, you've got to admit it's. Like, at least they make a point to show that he's getting more and more injured as the movie goes on. Like, you cannot say that about Live Free or Die Hard in the slightest, Dragon.
Right.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep bagging on Live Free or Die Hard.
Yeah, you're really just bagging on that movie.
I'm sure Die Hard 5 is worse. I'm sure it is.
I mean,
I'm sure. It's just that, like, Live Free or Die Hard is my basis for a bad Die Hard movie.
I will. When you watch 5, you're gonna like 4 a lot more when you watch 5.
I believe it. And anyway, when I do get around to rewatching 4, I definitely have to check out the unrated cut.
I'm not saying it's gonna fundamentally change the movie,
no,
but again,
it's McClane actually acting like McClane.
Yeah. All right. So let's get to the nice. There's a lot of nice here, so we got to keep it localized. So again, I think the kind of the great umbrella for the nice is, of course, the stationary location advent. I mean, that's brilliant.
This film was a game changer in every sense of the word when it comes to action movies. Like for a decade, for over a decade, every action movie was like, oh, it's Die Hard on a bus, or it's Die Hard on a boat,
or it's Die Hard on a plane with Air Force One.
Exactly. I just think the character of McClane in this movie is just impeccable in terms of the transition he goes on, the journey, both physically and mentally, just his quips, the way he's written. As I said, I thought the device with the walkie-talkies and having the one-way communication was brilliant.
Yes. The little touches, and I noticed this in the rewatch, it really impressed me. The little touches, like the sun going down. Basically, as the sun goes down, that's when the movie starts. Because again, that's Hans and company arrive when when it's Christmas Eve, when it's Christmas, when it's nighttime, when again the place is like all closed up.
Hans is just a showman like that.
I'm just saying it's like kind of like, okay, now our story's starting. Like John arrives during the magic hour lighting, and by the time he gets there, again, when the sun goes down, our movie starts because that movie's set at nighttime. It's just,
no, but I'm just saying, like Hans Gruber was probably like they were probably like waiting in that van for like a half hour. Like, no, we have to go down when it's dark, or else it's not Christmas Eve night. All right.
Speaking of which, of course, not done a great service by my co-host here, but
I tried.
Alan Rickman.
At least I didn't do the intro in the Rickman voice, right?
But seriously, Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber. It's the cleverness and the performance on it. It's just all three.
And everyone knows how good Rickman as Gruber is. Like we're not saying anything new with that.
Sure. Let's see the various inventive kills and the cat and mouse antics. Of course, that's a hallmark of the movie, and that's something to remember. All the various different types of kill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Likable side characters.
Oh yeah.
The build up to the build up before certain like the big moments, the big kills or the big explosions. Like of course, like the Takagi. Darn, I'm thinking Naruto. Stupid. Takagi. Yes, the death of Takagi, of course, that's a big moment right there. Remember, it's the brain splatter. The fact that we build up to it. I'm going to count to 3.
And the fact that McClane, technically could have stopped it, but didn't.
Yes, and then the fact that haunts him. And, we have these... But still, the build-up to the big moments of violence, and it's less the violence itself, just more like the build-up. Something bad's like, there will not be a 4. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, God, it's great. Of course, the big, the big rooftop moment.
Oh yeah.
We built out to the very last second. Well, then of course we have the Carl coming back and Carl not kind of walking away from these encounters, and we build the big showdown between those two guys.
Sure.
There's a lot of build up and there's a lot of tension. Tension, of course, being very important in this film.
And it's pretty much like everything that gets set up. It's very much a movie of setup and payoff. Where it's like we set up these devices, we set up these locations. And it's kind of like a whole exercise in that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we set up, John kind of scaling this building in all sorts of
different ways. I've heard this comparison before, but like Die Hard is essentially like a big scale Home Alone.
Well, I mean, if Marv and Marv and Harry, if they had 10 buddies, maybe.
I'm just saying, fundamentally, when you get down to it, it's like one guy defending a single location from burglars, using a variety of traps and cleverness. And then there's a heartwarming message about reconnecting with family in there.
If it helps Tiki, sure.
It helps, damn it.
Because, there was that beautiful scene in the first Home Alone. I remember like it was yesterday, Tiki. It was that beautiful scene in the first Home Alone where Macaulay Culkin, he just, he has a happy moment with the guy with the shovel. Mm-hmm. And he just plows Marv when he gets up for a moment after he's fallen down with the machine gun. He shoots him point blank. It's a big triumphant moment.
All right. Let's see. Anything else with the nice?
The endurance of the main character, again, very much like in an Arkham game, if you will. You see kind of Batman get the deterioration on his guys, and we have visual symbols as well as just seeing, just the endurance of our guy through all of this. I always love a character with good endurance. So that's always kind of, a guy, even though the world's coming down around him, he's still powering on through. So that's, McClane as a character stands the test of time. Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to favorite moments.
Yes. You should go first.
Yeah, me. Okay.
You have more moments in the beginning.
All right. Well, Dragon, I've got to admit, I was going to lump the phone call that starts off the Powell plot in with my favorite moment, but I'm thinking maybe that's not such a good idea now. No, I just, in all seriousness though, how good is the whole welcome to the party, pal? Oh my God. I love all the tension that we build up with that scene, Powell coming in and, we see the guard and he's very on edge about Powell. We don't know if the guard's going to shoot Powell or not, and then McClane is just watching from the, from the windows. And I love just the timing of it all. It's just so glorious. You know what I mean? Like the body crashes down, then the machine gun fire, and it's just all very cathartic, and it's such a good way to, you know, kind of properly introduce Powell into the story.
It's a big fist pumping finally moment.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also just so crazy to think that, you know, like Die Hard and, oh God, I just called him Die Hard.
Again, Tiki, the man has a name. It's John frickin' McClane.
No, it's just great that McClane and Powell developed such a close relationship with each other. With this is like the starting foundation for said relationship.
You know, this is something kind of silly, kind of like your Die Hard thing, Tiki, but Pal, with his name, of course, it's like, welcome to the party, pal. And of course, throughout they call him Pal. But sometimes he calls him Pal, sometimes he calls him Pal. And it's kind of hard to tell sometimes. He's like, Pal, or is he saying Pal? Or Al. And that's the thing is, Al, Pal, and Pal. It's like a fusion of his name, man. Pal.
God.
Like the guy he's built to be the buddy on the. He's built to be not a guy in a chair, but he's built to be the kind of the guy standing around.
Okay, so one of the characters we didn't talk about, Dragon, is Ellis, and Ellis is involved in one of my favorite moments when he very, very stupidly, he's like, you know what? I'm a good negotiator. I've seen Hollywood movies. I think I'm gonna take a stab. Like, I just love how cocksure he is about the whole thing. The fact that he literally calls Hans Gruber Bubby.
Hans Bubby.
That just kills me, Dragon.
Now,
just absolutely kills me.
So I got to highlight with Ellis here. He was played by Hart Bachner. Hart Bachner, he played a similar role. Amazingly, most likely Die Hard got him this role, to be quick. That and the fact that his father had done work for Batman the Animated Series. His father is Lloyd Bachner. He voiced the mayor on Batman the Animated Series. And Hart Bachner was very well known for this role, and he basically played a very similar character in Mask of the Phantasm. Plays Arthur Reeves in that movie, and it's very humorous. So keep going. So Ellis's big downfall.
Ellis's big downfall is that he just simply he's
getting Coke poured for him, and he's getting like a Coke poured for him and everything.
Right.
It's just so hilarious. He gets such product placement before.
He overvalues himself. I think that's his big downfall, right? He just like once this whole thing is taking place and he's got McClane on the line, he's like, John, listen, we know you're trying to help out, but it'd be a lot easier. And it's like he's talking to McClane as if he's like, John, look, you don't have to file that paperwork. I'll do it for you, man. Don't worry about it. Take a load off.
God, he's like walking. He's like winking the Hans, like everything's fine. He's such an idiot.
It's just like, what the hell is this guy think he's doing?
He's such a goner. It's funny.
And then, of course, it does lead to, kind of some dramatic stakes where he's dead, and then everyone thinks, the cops stupidly think like, oh, McClane took another victim.
Hey, here's a funny thing occurred to me with the Coke gag, Tiki, is that he's being poured a glass of Coke. Yeah, of course, the first introduction to Ellis is that he's snorting cocaine. So what's funny is you got to imagine this conversation happened, Tiki. It's like when he's pounding around. The scene we didn't see is like, hey, get some Coke, and basically Hans's Carl or somebody just misunderstands this and gets him a thing of Coke from the fridge.
Oh God. Oh man. Also, we kind of talked about this before we went on air, but I'd like to think it's intentional that they gave Ellis and Gruber like similarly fashioned beards.
I'd love to think it's intentional.
Especially because of the role reversal with Gruber that we'll get into with your moment. All right, and finally, I don't have a lot to say about the scene, but I love the moment where McClane starts to confide in Powell. You know, he's just like, I have a really bad feeling about this, Al. I don't think this is going to go the way I think, And so it's basically just kind of breaking down like, look, I was a jerk, and you need to tell my wife that I know I was a jerk. Like, it's kind of just the whole, like, the guy, the family man of it all. You know what I mean? The whole, like, my God, work isn't everything, and I was such a jackass for thinking that it was. And I don't know. It's just a very nice moment.
Here's
I
what
also
got.
like how structurally it's like this kind of calm before the storm in the middle of the movie. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
of course
it's just a little bit of breathing room before things get really crazy.
yeah, this is after Hans is basically it's been exposed that his name's not Roy anymore, and he doesn't have he's kind of lost some footing with his mistake, and now everyone knows he's John McClane.
Mhm.
Thanks to Ellis.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. What do you got, Dragon?
Here's what I got. So first and foremost, I have like big moment here. Honestly, it's I would have gone all Rickman, kind of that model thing I really liked, but I kind of went with basically two Rickmans and a Heartwoman buddy moment. So
Well, that's okay because
Hans.
I went with two Powells.
First,
So.
I called this one the Turn for short, but what it actually is it's Hans's turn to become a hostage when he's caught. So you have this fantastic moment, one of the great moments in all cinema, folks. Oh, this is a great moment where basically Hans Gruber's like checking the wiring. Somebody just needs some BS excuse to get him out there, outside this cushy office. And he's out there checking the wire. He's like, okay, the explosives are all wired up and everything. He's on the roof. He's like near the roof. Yeah, he's on the roof. He's going to work their way down there. So he like kind of plops down from like jumping over the wire, and as he plops down, he sees the bare feet, the symbol of John McClane.
You're
And
right,
he looks
right.
up in horror because he hasn't seen the whole movie. He's not seen McClane. He has not seen him, not seen Roy. As all he knows he's called Roy. He doesn't know anything about this guy. He just knows he's Roy. He's effing up his plan.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks up, and the look on his face of horror, of like realizing, oh my God, it's him. And again, he thinks he's like another terrorist. He's about to blow him away. And then Hans Gruber being so smart and so improvisations. Why he's one of the great villains, folks.
Oh yeah. But I'd say this scene is like why he's one of the great villains.
And it's just a great moment of acting. It's probably my favorite moment of acting with Rickman in the whole movie. He's so good in the whole movie, but this is probably the best scene for him. Is that in a scene without missing a beat, within the same action, looking up in horror, he backs away, most likely channeling some fear in the moment, but transforming it without like a beat of actual sweat going down his face. He turns that initial fear into play fear, he is acting like a scared host, like, oh no, you're one of them, you're gonna kill me, please don't kill me, please don't kill me. And of course he's putting on a Texan accent, and that's the thing, he just plays Bill Clay. He puts on
the Texas accent is like it's scarily good.
It's scarily good, and I love it. It's like he's looking across the way, and again, being a chess player, he knows what McClane's doing. He knows that McClane is just trying to deduce if he's lying to him or not. Mm-hmm. And seeing the great things, and it's such a great honestly, it's the whole scene. If I had to pick one thing, it's the turn. But I'm just saying, as it goes on, it's just that the whole thing is great because McClane's just trying to figure out like if he's an actual guy, and of course McClane does know. Like honestly, I read it as McClane is testing him by giving him an unloaded gun. If he fires the unloaded gun on, then obviously he is a traitor. Therefore, he would stop. And that's why I read it. But regardless, just the fact that he can come up with like the fake name, looking again across the wall, like all the names of the employees that McClane could check. Bill Clay, had some time on the range. Played with ever familiar with the game where you shoot paint? That whole thing. Right. Oh God, his Rickman is brilliant. I miss him so much. Tiki, he was brilliant. Let's see. Other thing.
You're not a Harry Potter fan.
Well,
I'm just saying you're missing like one half of like iconic Rickman. It's Gruber and Snape. Right. Anyway,
so the other big Hans moment, I call it the drop.
I mean, what can you say about this besides it's basically like every Disney villain death ever, except
it's done far better.
Right.
This is the best death by drop ever. Come on. This is great. And again, there's the tension associated. This is what really makes it great. Is the fact that he shouts as happy trails, Hans, after the whole yippee-ki-yay, the big one. It's just a great moment of like, again, it's McClane, and it's that little respect that Hans Gruber has for him, and that he's calling back his big, like, that was the big moment of like, who are you, Roy? And of course, yippee-ki-yay, mother, and it's basically, what the heck is this guy? It's kind of the big moment. He's calling it back to him in their last moments here, where he basically they're laughing, and he's like, hey, he's just laughing because he knows he's gonna die. I kind of appreciate them. They're all sharing a hearty laugh together.
Right.
I just love the fact they're sharing a hearty laugh together. He shoots Hans, he thinks it's over, as we all do. The audience like, okay, well, at least they had like a good moment. They kind of killed him off. Like, all right, and that, but no, he's still grabbing onto her. We have great aftermath in this movie. Like John McClane's he's got glass in his feet. He has all these moments of aftermath, and Hans is still holding on to the Holly's bracelet. Again, that's a really strong bracelet, I gotta say. I don't care if it defies the laws of physics. It's great drama for it. But it's just that very moment we have that Michael Kamen. Sorry, I think it was it's the Michael Kamen score. Michael Kamen score, of course. Kamen did the Iron Giant too, by the way. Mm-hmm. That score as McClane's he's racing to unfasten the bracelet, but in that moment it's done in slow mo. This is the last thing that Rickman shot for the movie because again it was his first movie, and they wanted to make sure if we're going to do a stunt this dangerous, it better be able to the last days to make sure we don't screw up the shoot. Because again, he did his own stunt on this, and it was like a 40-foot drop, and reportedly it's like they were supposed to go on 3, and they kind of went on 2 when they dropped him to get the surprised look on his face. That's the rumor anyway. Oh jeez. So, the unfastens the thing, and in slow motion, it's that look of, like, I'm not finished yet. Again, Hans Gruber improvising, even though I'm defeated, I'm going to take a shot at him. Mm-hmm. And it's that moment, it's such a tension film, where they force that drop, and the look on his face, and it's like just the great slow motion drop, Tiki. It's amazing. And lastly, it's very simple. The moment after all they've been through, again, kind of the ultimate, let's just say, call it a Batman Gordon moment by anything here. It
totally is.
It's so sweet. It's after conversing with each other on radio purely. After John and Holly walk out of the building, and John he walks up to Pal, and again he saw the guy from the way. He knows what Pal looks like. Mm-hmm. The way they recognize each other without him even recognizing that it's John. Aside from, again, the only guy walking out of there alive, which obviously would be John McClane. But just the fact of the matter is he sees him. They walk up to each other and they embrace. It's like that's the pal. Like that's my pal. The only guy who believed in me while I was up there. The only guy who kept me sane during all that. Just he's there, and he introduces him to Holly, the wife that he said if I don't make it back from mm-hmm. call her out. That's the symbol of like, hey, I made it out of here, and I have my wife. It's like, oh my God, it's a beautiful embrace of those two characters who've been so supportive of each other the whole film. Man, it's a thing of beauty.
Oh yeah. Alrighty, so I guess the last thing to do, Dragon, is ask the simple question: how's it hold up?
So it is.
This movie sucks. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, it's obviously it's the definitive movie set around Christmas time.
It's the definitive, like, I can't believe it's Christmas movie. You should say.
I thought like set at Christmas, not Chris. You know what I mean? It's not a. All right, fine. It's hard to find. It's at best I can't believe it's Christmas. It's definitive to say the least. It's a definitive Christmas movie of some variety.
Let's just call it the definitive Christmas action movie.
There you go.
Yeah.
Puts a nice label on it. But yes, we have the presence of Christmas is felt. We have the gifts, the lighting, the snow, the holiday tape, which of course is a big plot point of him taping the gun to his back. Of course, ho ho ho, I have a machine gun. The big Christmas music. It's a Christmas party, for crying out loud. So much Christmas in this movie.
Oh yeah. And like I said, just also the themes of reconnecting with your estranged spouse. That's all very Christmassy.
The themes of hardship around the holidays and kind of powering on through that to kind of, and again, he comes out with a happy ending. He gets in the limo. The weather outside is right.
Mm-hmm.
And
so, yeah, I mean, in a word, it absolutely holds up, no question.
Of course, it has a great legacy. Like, I'll say this much. One of the shows I love very much right now, I think it's a really funny show, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I've told you about this before. Mm-hmm. Brooklyn Nine-Nine. One of the Brooklyn Nine is a show of cops, and it's a comedy with cops who actually earn, they have enough skills to pay the bills, let's say. These guys, they're actually, they're really good at their job, so they can afford to make jokes. It's not like, okay, they're not incompetent cops by any stretch. And looking at it that way, they have a debate sometimes, like which is the better cop film, Die Hard or Lethal Weapon, and the main character played by Andy Samberg, Jake Peralta, he has a fixation, a fascination with Die Hard.
I would say out of the two, Lethal Weapon's a lot of fun, but out of the two, I think Die Hard's probably better.
If looking at a franchise, I think it goes to Lethal Weapon. Looking at a single movie, Die Hard.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Lethal Weapon had a more consistent, franchise.
Uh-huh.
But my point is, what I'm getting at is like Andy Samberg, as this, Peralta, there's like literally had like a cake made up of the Nakatomi Tower, like a little John McClane like hanging on like licorice or something as the fire hose. And most recently, to an episode, basically like their 99th episode, I think, they went on a road trip and they happened by the Fox lot, I guess, and they went inside the Nakatomi the Nakatomi building, and he took pictures of him next to every location within the building. So I'm saying that Die Hard definitely has a legacy. That's just being kind of a recent prominent example. I mean,
there's a lot of stories of like people who work in like and like shipping and stuff. Like, whenever you ship something to that building, you're in the parking garage that Argyle was hanging out in.
Yeah, so what I'm getting at is like, that's just a cop shit. You gotta imagine that has the rub off from a little bit of real life. Cops. You gotta imagine cops appreciate these movies to an extent.
I can't imagine. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. This movie stands for something. It kind of stands for just kind of like an idealization of like one of them. When chips are down, we're hoping that we can all, be as good in a crisis as John McClane. That's kind of the idealized situation in crisis. That okay, we can, if the, bare feet, bare feet in a tank top, we can get the job done.
All right.
And of course, the fact that it's been accepted into the National Film Registry is yet another reason this, of course, is a movie set around Christmas that holds up tremendously well.
Okay, then take us out, Dragon.
All right. Well, kids, time to dash away all. But as we wave goodbye, don't you cry. We'll be back again next time
with even more seasonal shenanigans.
La 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 la
la la la la. Welcome to the party, pal.